I'm focused on this theory cause it keeps me from this fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barney watching Black T News. Hello, welcome to Black T News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about Oprah and her speech at the the DNC convention, and some of the stuff that she said that's just frankly cap, guys. And you get more projections certainly from these people, and and the thing, talking about some people want to divide, some people want to scare you, some people, I'm like, that's you guys. And there's a section where she goes on and defends abortion and so on, and they talk about freedom, and the only time they really seem to care about freedom is when they want to, kill their kids and then let their kids see inappropriate porn in school. Which she does mention books. I have a lot of thoughts about what she had to say. Also want to talk about some really interesting news about how the job market isn't what Biden and Kamala had promised or been saying. You know how folks go around saying like, oh, the economy is not actually doing well. Like, I don't feel like it's doing well. And people are like, are you kidding me? The numbers don't say that. Well, like over like 800,000 jobs, they said, weren't actually real. So there's that. Plus, there's a lot of missing kids that our government doesn't seem to know exactly where they are, because a lot of kids come without a parent crossing the border, and they don't really vet well where these kids are going, and a lot of them they can't find for their court dates and all kinds of different stuff. So I don't know what's happening with these kids at all, and neither does our government, frankly. And I remember when people were mad about Trump, the administration, and having like 500 kids that they didn't reunite with their parents, and he's like, they didn't come with their parents, so like that's why they're not reunited yet, as if they're just keeping them separated, like in prisons or something like that. And people got mad, and he was like, coyotes bringing them up, and then people didn't know what coyotes were, and we're trashing Trump, and like coyotes, like they're the animals, like Wile E. Coyote, like they can't bring up children from the border. Just a bunch of nonsense. And they have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of children who could be missing. So you can have a lot of feelings. Let's start off with this important nugget today. You can have a lot of feelings and, let's say, compassion for other people, right? But if you're ruling with incompetence, in the end, you will help no one. In the end, you will help no one, and your feels will be destructive toward you, those around you, and the people you claim to care about. So, how they've handled the border, how they continue to handle the border, and how they will handle the border will only cause more death and destruction. But they don't care because they just want to make sure that they can kill their babies. So it's like the most important thing to these people, which is wild. And I will lay out why. Other than the fact that I don't like it personally, and it's objectively, I would say, immoral as well, because I do believe in objective morality. But other than that, they're even with their own logic, I will tell you why it's very stupid to even make this the issue that you desperately need or want, desire to be like the number one thing. But before we jump into everything, I want to, well, first of all, thank you all for being here watching live. And thank you to all those who watch back later. I know there's folks who, get off work or cooking at home late at night. You don't watch, Fox at night. You watch me. Thank you guys very much to all those of you who do it. Thank you to those who watch live, those of you who are in the comments. When you chit chat, you talk to each other. That does all help, other people find the live. I know people have been watching more consistently, or people who are new catching lives and have enjoyed the lives. Thank you very much for, watching. If you guys would like to support, you guys can go to blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost to stream and run my website, all that good stuff. So you guys can support. I appreciate it. Otherwise, you guys can give stars on Facebook, and which I've seen some people give me some stars when I post some of my short videos. I appreciate it. And those of you who do super chats on YouTube, thank you very much. I do read the super chats as long as they're not crazy or something. But a best way to donate is to go to the website and do it there. You guys can also look at different merch that we have available at the website, like different t-shirts, like My Money, My Business. Like Tim Walls was like, mind your own business. Well, it's like my money, my business, right? Like if you want my taxpayer dollars, that kind of seems like it's my business. You got different mugs and so on. You guys can check out. I do have a lot of books that I've written. This poster behind me, my sister said she was sick of seeing the light switch all the time, so she just came and stuck that behind me. So I'll have a better setup behind me eventually, but um I will show you the cover of the whole cover anyway. Super Kid and Super Kid 2 there. So those are some middle grade chapter books that I have available on Amazon. You can just search my name, Christina Elbar, and you'll find all my stuff on Amazon. And that's about a kid with overactive imagination. He thinks he has superpowers. He does not really. He teams up with his friends, Princess Lady Diva and Sick Man, to try to just do the good around the community and stuff. Loosely based off of stories about my dad, and other bits about, there's some things about my childhood, like Princess Lady Diva Kiara there. She's got that little afro puff. Mine hair was never that long my entire life, but I wore those little, barrettes in my hair and, other stuff like that. So Felix lives on a big hill because I lived on a big hill. So there's like little sprinkles of my life in there too. But it's got a lot of really good values in there. So I encourage you guys to check that out. And I have lots of other books for older readers as well. So you guys, again, just find me on Amazon. Also, my second edition of course, Guys Blatantly Gets Abortion is also available on Amazon now. So you guys can check that out. There's a new version of it. It's got more, just a lot more content, more church history in it. It's got a new chapter at the end of it. It's got more stuff about it goes deeper into some different things that I already touched on, but also like different arguments like personhood and so on. So it's a all-encompassing book. Whether you're religious or not, you can learn a lot from it. And you know what, if you're not religious and you happen to like my broadcast, thank you for watching and hope to convert you. But even if you're like pro-life and maybe you're not very religious, people will still accuse you of being secretly religious. So even if you aren't religious and you've never really read much of the Bible, cared about it, people will say things like, well, life starts at first breath, and you'll be like, I didn't even say anything about the Bible, but you could still go, no, it doesn't. That's stupid. And what do you mean? Fetuses breathe in the womb. Like I got the oxygen in my, I breathe in, the lungs distribute the oxygen to my blood and it filters all throughout my body. And if I was pregnant, that blood would go to my child and the child would get the oxygen that way. And that's how they would breathe. So they are breathing too. So, so that doesn't even make any sense. Why you think that's a disqualification of human rights? So it covers stuff like that. So there's a lot of good need to know information in there, and even makes the case of why, even if you're not religious, it's still good to take some of those values that are taught, like the inherent value, and why you should apply that logic despite not having a grounding in God. So good content. I encourage you guys to check it out. And I did post my article about the violinist essay, and there's quite a few people said that they had never heard of it. I'm like, it's one of the most famous, essays that's ever been like downloaded. So if you are running pro-life circles at all, or debate the issue at all, it's good to know that argument and how to debunk it and stuff. So I thoroughly do that. So I go ahead and check out my website. I'm also working on an article right now that's pretty thorough about Kamala Harris and why I can't be proud of the fact, even her being a woman and being a woman of color, why she really shouldn't be the president. Because why would I want history wasted on her? Just to be frank, like, I know she's already made history, but I wasn't excited when she got elected, when they did the swearing in and stuff, because one, I didn't like her policies, but two, I didn't think she'd do a good job. Like, it's one thing if you don't like somebody and maybe they're gonna pass things that aren't great, but maybe they're not awful, right? But she's awful at her job, and I knew she'd be awful at her job. And now she's running for president, and it's been, what, 33 days, and she's not taking any interviews. She hasn't done any press conferences. They still don't have anything on their website as far as policy, which is funny because the GOP just went ahead and made a website. I think it's Kamala 2024 policies.com. Let me see, Kamala Harris 2024 policies. Fox News did an article. I first read an article about it on Daily Wire, and I did go to the website. It's Kamala 2024 policies.com. Because when I read, I'm like, oh, they. I wonder what the address is. It should be like Kamala2024.com or something, Kamala Harris policies.com or something. And so Kamala 2024 policies.com is pretty close. So I was like, okay, well, that's a pretty good website there. And they should have made it's clearly, if you go there, it's clearly a website that is talking about how dangerous she is. So it's obviously very partisan, which, I mean, their 2025 website is partisan too. But if I were them, if I were going to do it, I would just have made it like, these are the things that she believes in, and I wouldn't have written it with a bias. I would have just been like, here's Kamala Harris on immigration. Here's here's Kamala Harris on banning the fracking. Here's Kamala Harris on this. Here's Kamala Harris on this. Here's her plan about taxes. And I would just present it, and I wouldn't even like say dangerous policies. I wouldn't even do that. I would just like, here's her in her own words. And I would just pretend like it's a normal website. But it's funny because I did see this banner, dangerous policies are nothing to laugh at, on Twitter. So they are spending money to have that, on X, so people can go check that out. But I don't know how many people, unless you could trick them into going to the website or something, are going to be like, oh, let me go see how the GOP lays this out. So the things on here are true, though. Green New Deal ending, eliminate private healthcare insurance, for one. That's something that she did, or I mean, or wanted to do. And there's links here. I would have embedded just the videos of her addressing that stuff. It's fine if they're writing it out. Let's see where these links go. I mean, you can't. Oh, they do have links to the bills. I know I didn't show you guys that, but these links here that they have, they link to different bills that she passed. Things about Sanders, plan for Medicare for all and other stuff like that. So it's sourced, and they have links to the Twitter page of the RNC that has the link to her saying this stuff. So all that is good, but I would have just embedded it directly into the website. But good idea here. I just would have changed the execution a little bit, but bravo, because she didn't do it, and the media isn't doing their job with holding her feet to the fire. So shame on them. But they want her to win and they want Trump to lose. So why would they be responsible at all? I'm surprised they've talked as much as they have about her economic policies, but with a journalist in the New York Times saying that it speaks to her illiteracy, her financial like illiteracy as a candidate, which is funny, but it's true. So, but I think they probably even are speaking about that, so they will turn away, because you really can't objectively make price controls a good thing. Like there's too much like historical knowledge and consensus around like economists and stuff that those things are bad. So they're trying to probably nudge her in the right direction with their criticism. But kudos for the RNC for doing that, because I was sure gonna tell someone that my sister works for the RNC. I was gonna tell her like, y'all need to make a website with her policies. Like so good on them. Certainly good on them for that. I'm glad they did that. And they need to really push people to go there. By the way, Matt Walsh, do you guys know he went to the DNC? He's like wearing his disguise of like just longer hair and like some Harris Pro garb. And he was spotted on CNN like right behind Chuck Schumer, and he's going around passing out cards that say like learn the truth about Project 2025. So if you go to like project2025.com, it's Matt Walsh. You go to like a very old looking website, but it has which is part of the troll to not look like super neat or whatever. But it's a trailer for Matt Walsh's movie Am I Racist? So they're funny. That's funny that they're doing that. I hope that's not funnier than the entire movie, but I said I probably wouldn't have pushed it as a comedy because I don't know how actually funny it's going to be, but I think it's going to be an important film, as far as going undercover and seeing how a lot of these DEI people think and talk, and how these people want to make a market and out of guilting white people. And it's important that he exposes that and the silliness of it. In a similar way that his other film was important in exposing the danger and the silliness of the ideology with the gender ideology stuff. But I don't know if I would have marketed it as a comedy. I would have been like, it's so shocking, you need to see it. Because I'm not always down for their humor, the Daily Wire. They think something's really funny. I'm like, it was okay. It was okay. But yeah, I'm gonna see that when that comes out, certainly. And I'll let you guys know how it is. But what really gets me excited for it is at the very end of the trailer, Matt Walsh is interviewing the woman who wrote White Fragility. If you've seen the trailer and you don't know who she is, that's who that is. So I'm so curious to see what he gets her to say. Because her book has done, I don't know, made the world entirely too annoying, I think. So I can't wait for him to expose her. But anyway, let's move on to the Oprah stuff, because you're here probably for the Oprah stuff. It says Oprah and the DNC are evil. That's like the title. So let's hop to it. We are not going to watch her entire speech. I will spare you that. I shall spare you that. But there's a couple sections that I want to jump to. So that's what we shall look at. But I do want to say a lot of people are pointing out today because she spoke at the DNC. Obviously, she endorsed Obama, and Obama became the president. So they're hoping for another big moment, I suppose, with her being able to push, um, Kamala over the edge, I guess, with all this. Kamala and Obama, like, I know they're trying to create a similar magic, but Obama, as much as I don't like him, he did have talent. Kamala Harris ain't it. But they're trying. They are really trying, giving her all this glowing coverage. But in reality, the polls are very tight between Trump and Kamala. And we're getting maybe a dropout. I don't know if it has happened yet. There's supposed to be an announcement from Kennedy. And I don't know what time it's supposed to be. It could have already happened by now. But he's in the same location, they said, as Donald Trump. So people are assuming that he's going to drop out and endorse Trump. And people are saying that it will benefit Trump if he does it. I'm assuming he's going to drop out because he figures it's going to benefit Trump. I hope that's the case. And I don't know, because Donald Trump is going to be, it's very hard for him to get to 50%. A lot of people he's very polarizing. There's people who seriously love him, but there's people who don't like him. So getting to 50% is always going to be kind of hard for him. I just don't know if how many people really were like, oh, I don't want to vote for, Trump, but like, I don't know how many people from the Democrat side were his voters versus how many on the right were Kennedy voters. If medical freedom and COVID is like your number one issue, then I see why you would vote Kennedy. But Kennedy has a lot of like radical on the Democrat side positions that would turn off like maybe a disgruntled sort of Trump person who doesn't want to support him to go to Kennedy. Like, people have asked me like, well, you complain about Trump quite a bit. Have you looked at Kennedy's policies? I'm like, yes. Yes. And if you follow me, there's some personality things about Trump that I can rag on or whatever. But the main thing, if you follow me a lot, the main thing I'm upset about is the stance on abortion, right? Like the softening of that. So why would I go with Kennedy that is basically like, he's not fond of it but doesn't really want to put restrictions on it? So why would I jump to Kennedy? So once some more policies like that came out, I'm like, the average kind of Republican, I don't think they would feel that Kennedy was the option, so I don't know how many people are like nesting in the Kennedy camp and are just going to be like, okay, we're all going to just go and vote for Trump, as opposed to just maybe sitting it out or what. So did he have more Republican support or more, people who were pro Kamala? I don't know. Now maybe he'll be a very powerful advocate against, Kamala. I'm not sure how that'll all pan out, but it depends how much he rips her. But gosh, his side is, I mean, they've already thrown him under the bus and ostracized him so much. I don't see anyone saying in the comments that it's already happened. So I don't know. But I guess we'll have something to talk about on Monday. If there's some kind of news while we're talking, let me know. Anyway, let's go to the Oprah stuff. People are pointing out that she wants, interviewed Trump, seemed to love Trump, wrote him a glowing letter. They'd ask him to run for president and so on. And it's funny to me, like, Oprah's going to come and save the day. Didn't people hate Oprah's guts like a year ago with the whole, fire in Hawaii situation and her owning so much property and how her charity was set up? Like, I know that happened. Like, I was on TikTok at the time of all that. I made videos about it. So like, people really seem to hate her guts not too long ago, and now she's supposed to come in the DNC and just kind of save the day and convince people to vote for Kamala Harris. It seems pretty laughable to me, but hey, that's how the world appears to be working. And again, they want some kind of Obama moment. So let me jump to where I want to jump to start off things. Because again, I do not want to play her whole speech. You guys can go watch the whole thing yourself if you want to, but I don't want to do that to you guys. So let me expand that. Let me turn it down a smidgen because this seems kind of loud.
Evening, everybody!
Okay. We're gonna jump to
America.
Okay, about here.
There are people who want you to see our country as a nation of us against them. People who want to scare you, who want to rule you. People who'd have you believe that books are dangerous and assault rifles are safe. That there's a right way to worship and a wrong way to love. People who seek first to divide and then to conquer. But here's the thing. When we stand together, it is impossible to conquer us.
Okay, so first bit of nonsense. There could have been prior nonsense to that, but this is the first bit of nonsense that I want to tackle here. Okay. Who is the side that really divides here? Who's the side that divides upon gender and race, sexual orientation? If you don't think the right thing, then you have to be ostracized. If you're a black person and you're a Republican or conservative, then all of a sudden you ain't black. Like, which side does that? Which side calls you coon or Uncle Tom or whatever? If you don't support their ideas, who divides? Who's really dividing? Who gets up and talks about the MAGA Republicans and how they're a danger to our democracy and they're the extremists? The RNC convention, and granted, it happened after Trump got shot, but they're like, let's revamp this, and Trump like rewrote his speech so it was more positive and unifying, and that was like the feel of their convention. I'm not saying nobody said anything negative, but that was the feel of their convention. The DNC convention is Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. And Trump is so bad that we're not even going to talk about his policies. We're going to point to Project 2025, something that he has denied being a part of, which he didn't write it and his people didn't write it. Yes, he's had associations with people from the Heritage Foundation, but he's denounced it so much that Heritage like got rid of like the president or somebody like high up because of it. I don't even like the amount of like denouncing that they've done with Heritage and throwing people under the bus, because these are people who like helped to write, to have good ideas in the past and will have good ideas and stuff in the future. And there's like the things that people bring up about Project 2025, I'm like, that doesn't sound that bad. But I'm going to let you know, and I've already let you guys know that I ain't read it. I didn't read it, and I don't plan to read it. And y'all might make me read it with how much people are talking about it, but I don't want to read the 900-page document. And I don't believe that these people read the 900-page document, but a lot of these people are just lying about what's in it. But it's one thing that people were saying is in it is something about abortion and other kind of stuff. Trump has jumped the ship as far as I'm concerned with that issue, to go as far, not to the far left as like Kamala Harris and them, but far more than I would like. So when people say like, well, I don't believe he's still going to ban abortion, I hope to God you're right. But I'm not like jumping ship over that issue. That would make me like all in on this man. So I don't appreciate the fact that they keep lying about it. I'm like, he's going to attack IVF, get rid of IVF. Donald Trump got all those Republicans in line on IVF. They changed the platform to support IVF after the reaction to the Mississippi ruling, which I thought his reaction to it wasn't warranted. And a lot of people's reactions to it wasn't warranted, but people did fear mongering, all this other kind of stuff. And the Republican senators, like all came out and wrote something saying that they want to defend IVF. Ted Cruz was in an interview as he tried to pass a bill or push a bill forward that would protect IVF. And they said, well, people's like, arguments against it, their criticism is that, life starts at conception. This creates and destroys embryo. So what do you have to say about that? He's like, I don't know anybody who's against IVF. I'm like, that's not the question she asked you, sir. She asked you when life begins. So my point is, people say that these Republicans want to do something about IVF. No, they don't. And and I think they know that there's like some ethical questions that are associated with it, but they don't even have like the personal courage or political courage to even like, I don't know, even want to regulate it. So at this point in time, no, your IVF is absolutely safe. Ted Cruz's bill that he wanted to propose was that if your state tries to ban IVF, then they get to like stop federal funds for like Medicaid and other kind of stuff like that. I'm like, how crazy is it that they like you want to interrupt other people's ability to pay their financial bills if they ban IVF? That's crazy what they want. I'm like, what if the Democrats just do that with abortion? Like if your state bans abortion, then you're not going to get any federal funds anymore. But that's how far they're willing to go. But they keep lying about things that the Republicans do and don't support, or what Trump specifically wants to support and push and pass. So they're the ones who are delusional and divisive on so many of these matters. They're the ones talking about Trump's a danger and he's a stain, he's poison, all this stuff, lying about the very fine people hoax, lying and saying he's going to cause a bloodbath if he loses. They're absolutely the divisive ones. There's no question about it. I'm not saying that Republicans can't be divisive. Oh, they can, absolutely, especially like some of Trump's influencers and Trump himself. But that's not the route that they've been trying to go, completely. Their convention wasn't that kind of tone. And you would think that the Democrats would try to, I don't know, follow a similar sort of route, since the Republicans weren't vicious, but they need you to hate Trump more than you love your children. You have to hate this man more than you want to be able to financially afford food. and they have to pretend like they're moderates on different issues, or they're hawks on some issues. Like Kamala Harris is so good on the border. It's just stuff that's just so absent from reality, because there's so many legitimate things you could run against Trump on and fight Trump. But the problem is that their policies are just extraordinarily bad. So they have to lie about themselves, and they have to lie about their opponent. But they're definitely the divisive ones. But something I really want to talk about here it is the comments about the books, right? She said they want you to believe that books are dangerous and that assault weapons are safe. One, I would like to know, well, what's her private security like? I'm sure they're not carrying rainbows and hugs and kisses. I'm sure she's got private security. Also, how would she even define an assault weapon or assault rifle? How would she define it? What does that mean? What does that mean? Because people think big, scary guns. They think AR-15, something that's in common use. And people think they're big and scary because people will use them in mass shootings. The things that people use in mass shootings more than anything else are handguns. So if you want to start banning stuff, let's say you get rid of the AR-15 because it's big and scary and they use it to kill people in mass shootings. Oh gosh. Okay, let's say they get rid of them. They're still handguns. So then what's your next move? We have to get rid of the handguns because people are using in mass shootings. You have slippery slopes are real slick, man. They really are. They really, really, really are. And there was a court ruling, gosh, what the name of it escapes me, but Scalia, I think, wrote the opinion on it. And Democrats are so mad that it defended, weapons that are in common use. And they made the wrong decision about that because they want to ban your guns. And they want the court to be able to do that. That's why they want to stack the courts, and they want to put their liberal ideology people there, because they can't campaign on, we're going to take all your guns. Though some of them do say it sometimes, like Kamala Harris, to talk about mandatory buybacks. So sometimes they slip up and they say stupid stuff, and then they tell their aides to kind of walk it back, but don't say it themselves. But they want the courts to be able to do that, to swiftly make the change, because they don't have the popularity in the political capital to get certain things done. So I'm going to assume she's kind of illiterate here on the whole gun situation. And I'm no expert myself, but what do you mean by the things that you're saying, Oprah? But as far as a danger, like a clear and present danger, if a firearm, and I know she compared it books and in assault weapons, an assault weapon by itself doesn't do anything. There needs to be a person handling it, and they can either harm you with incompetence or they can harm you with intent to do you harm. Right? So it's good that people are trained as much as possible and respect the weaponry, but it's also important that we take bad people off the streets and put them in jail and, other things like that, or we really take a look at people's mental health and, other stuff like that. But a weapon by itself isn't dangerous. And Oprah and these Democrats defend an actual process that takes life, abortion. Like that, they're so gung-ho about abortion. They literally have an abortion truck outside of the DNC and they've killed at least 25 people, human beings, human children, offspring, progeny, sons and daughters at this convention. I guess that's something to brag about. But danger in Chicago, I guess, but they support a process that is designed to literally kill children, and then they ream on firearms. Again, you can hurt someone through sheer incompetence, or you can hurt someone when you have the intention to do it, but that gun by itself is not going to harm you. There has to be some kind of interaction that makes that gun go boom. But they literally support processes that kill children. And we'll get to that section when she brings that up. But but this gun versus book situation, because my governor did the same thing on the debate stage when gosh, what's her name? Who ran against her? Well, they were talking about, at the time, they're really pushing it, hey, there's these really bad books in schools and we got to get rid of them. And instead of like addressing like the pornographic material of some of these books, Gretchen Whitmer's just like, you really think that books are more dangerous than guns? And it depends on who has the gun, and it depends on what kind of book it is. It depends what kind of book it is. Well, I don't understand these people pretending like they don't think that books are dangerous. And I know that they think that books are dangerous because I own this one. This is Irreversible Damage by Abigail Shrier. They absolutely think that this book is dangerous. They think that this book is dangerous. Target at one point like suppressed it, and Amazon suppressed it for sure. You can get it off of Amazon. That's where I got mine. But they don't like this stuff being out because this book details parents who are on the left who, are supportive of their children, but then they started to see that they started getting swept up in the gender ideology craze, and they're like, I know my child, this isn't my child, but, and then they, want to get their, breasts cut off and so on. And if they don't go along with it, 100% people will start cutting off ties with their families. It's very much like a cult, very cultish how some of this stuff is, but it's a fascinating book. And very sad. And parents sought out Abigail Shrier to write to cover some kind of stories because they felt desperate because of what was happening to their girls. And it's mostly sweeping up young girls. So books like this, they absolutely believe are dangerous. They absolutely do. So this concept like, oh, they think books are dangerous. Yes, you people think that books are dangerous. You do. You do. What about, there's a book, When Harry Became Sally. I think it's Ryan T. Anderson might have wrote it, but the book is called When Harry Became Sally, and it deals with gender ideology. Amazon, I don't know if you still can't get it off Amazon, but Amazon like removed it. Now that's really scary. I don't think I've written anything that merits that sort of controversy where they would just not allow me to sell it on the biggest book platform in the world. But they didn't want it to be sold. And Chad Felix Green, he wrote about how, you know, the work of the author really spoke to him and helped him, because he's gay himself, but he struggled with gender identity himself. And so that book really helped him. But folks don't want these kids to be helped. They want them to be big pharma slaves for the rest of their lives. You know, and there's people who mean well for their kids, and they're just emotionally wrapped up in all this stuff. But I say this often: they're chasing a pot of gold at the end of a never-ending rainbow, and they're creating, you know, victims along the way here with their kids. It's that I already mentioned, like, people can be compassionate toward people, but if your incompetence is what's ruling you, you will hurt yourselves and the people that you are trying to help. So don't tell me that these people don't think books are dangerous, but I'll tell you some books that are dangerous. What about the ones that they are trying to keep out of the schools? And I was going to pull up some examples, but I don't want to really show you guys that graphic content, but there's books like Genderqueer, or specifically there's a book called This Book is Gay. And in This Book is Gay, there is like explicit graphic material and showing people how to do stuff, you know, and it's geared toward kids. There's a section in there which people in Michigan, Muslims in Michigan, weren't too fond of this book being around and available to kids. There is a section in there about how to talk to Muslims about homosexuality, I guess, to convince them and combat their religious perspective, to make, I don't know, make them queers for Palestine or some kind of nonsense. I don't know. So no wonder why the Muslims didn't like it too much, besides the obvious. But there's a section in that book that instructs kids how to get on apps and find other homosexuals. Now, why would a book do that? Why would a book geared toward minors instruct people on how to get on apps to talk to people on the internet about these things? It just sounds like you're setting children up to be preyed upon. So, if a child gets that book and decides to follow through on many of the things that's in there, but particularly the app situation, and they end up hooked up with a predator, answer me this, Batman, riddle me this. Do you think that that is a dangerous book? I mean, it could be an assault book, you know? So there's that, I guess. There's always the danger there. But it's about what's inside. It's not about, you know, the binding, the glue, the, you know, the ink or whatever. It's about what's actually the content in the books that make the difference. Tell me, like, Mein Kampf and other things don't have some kind of impact on the world. There's so many atheists that get mad, like the folks debate with every day about the Bible. They don't like what's in it, even though the Bible has unquestionably done so much good around the world for people. And they'll debate it and be mad about it all day long, create accounts about it. I don't believe in it, but I'm going to trash your God all day long. And the people who believe in him, I don't know why, but I don't know. You can't tell me that you don't think that books are impactful in some kind of way and can change the world. Depends on what the book is. It depends on what the content is. When your goal is to show sexual material to children that can confuse them about their identity, pervert their sexual nature, hinder their innocence, of course, those are dangerous books. And it's disgusting that people will not admit that those are the sorts of books that they don't want their kids to look at. People can decide to find whatever they want on Amazon and buy whatever. You can unfortunately show a lot of crap to your own kids. But when folks don't want their kids to come home from school and say, we found this book, and there's some kind of thing in there that's against the morals and the values that you were trying to teach your child, and they've been introduced to something that you feel isn't age appropriate. Now you have to have a conversation. Hope there's not too much damage done. So Oprah is not a dumb woman. She has her special Oprah book club. I'm sure there's many books that she would not want in there, that she would not want her name to be associated with. She's not free reign on books. She understands that words have meaning and words have power. She absolutely knows. And I know all these Democrats know this. You want to know? You want to know? You want to know? I will show you how I know they know. I will show you how I know they know. I'll show you. I'll show you guys. I will show at the very same convention on the same night. This is Kenan Thompson. Keenan and Kel, SNL, all that. What is he carrying? He's carrying a book form of Project 2024.
You ever seen a document that could kill a small animal and democracy at the same time? Here it is. You know how when you download an app and there are hundreds of pages there that you don't read, it's just the terms and conditions, and you just click agree, right? Well, these are the terms and conditions of a second Trump presidency. You vote for him, you vote for all of this. Let's take a look. You ever seen a doc?
So there you go. There you go. They think that this book, the words in that book, can destroy democracy, which, by the way, our country is not a democracy, but maybe there's some other books that they should have picked up. But they think that book, the information in that book, and what people might do with that information, that knowledge, those ideas, those ethics, those morals, or whatever, could potentially, not potentially, they're saying it will, destroy our country, destroy our democracy, take away women's rights to choose what to do with their bodies and all kinds of different stuff, they say. Give Trump the power of a dictator. And they said in no fault divorce, but I'm pretty sure that's not in there. But all this crazy stuff they say about Project 2025. They think it's dangerous. Is there a gun, like a single gun, like an assault weapon, that they would say this could end democracy? I don't think so. Lots of guns together and people using them who know how to use them, that are trained, and there's enough of them and willing to die for a cause. Yeah, they can maybe end the country as we know it. But they're saying this book, those words can end democracy. Yes, they absolutely understand that books can be very dangerous. Now, I think I'm not saying let's go have a book burning party or something like that, but you defeat bad ideas with good ideas, and you debate. But these people don't really believe in debate that much or push back because, of course, they've been hiding their candidate forever, and they didn't put her policies on a website anywhere for people to check out. The GOP had to do that themselves. So they just want to show you the lie. They don't want to debate the truth, represent both sides honestly. And they're not representing both sides honestly when it comes specifically to this book issue. Why don't they read genderqueer to the whole world? Why don't they read This Book is Gay to the whole world on that stage? Have you ever seen parents go to some of these council meetings and they start reading the book and they're hitting the gavel like, no, that's inappropriate. And they're like, why is this in the libraries? Like, why does my kid have access to this if it's inappropriate? Like, you guys are all adults. You don't want to hear this? So you can go look up some of these books up yourself. I didn't want to really, I don't know, show you drawn penises and people doing things with them in this live. I just wasn't feeling it today to show you all that kind of perverted stuff. You just have to take my word for it or go, ruin your own eyes. But I'm like, I don't feel like doing that today to my audience. Tudor Dixon, that's who ran against Gretchen Whitmer. I can't believe I forgot her name for a second. Thank you, Katrina. Anyway, let's move on to the cat lady comments. Oh, hold on. Let me put that back on. So I think that's about here for 25. Here we go. It's loading. Come on. Let me refresh that.
Good evening, childless cat lady.
Oh, there we go.
Who they're, but some would have you think we are not so different from our neighbors. When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No, we just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady, well,
why did they zoom in on that poor woman there? It seemed like they think she's the type, but let's let her finish that line.
We try to get that cat out too.
Okay. Yeah. So in general, people do think that regardless of our individual ideologies and lived experiences and how we love and whatever, that we all do have what? Inherent value. We all have inherent value. Tim Walz thinks that the golden rule is to mind your business. The golden rule is actually to treat your neighbor how you want to be treat others how you want to be treated. Love your neighbor. Be respectful, whatever to them. So yeah, if you found out that something was going on next door and they needed help and you could help them out of a fire, or you could call the police or what, or some, you do the good Samaritan kind of thing to the best of your ability, I would think. Not everybody would, but we all just have this, inherent sense within ourselves. Maybe the law is written on our hearts, guys, that we all have inherent value and we're all made in the image of God, right? That's our contention with abortion, though. Which we're about to get into that next part right now. But when our neighbor is in trouble, that does include the preborn. So if you're gonna unalive your child, we would like preferably for that to not happen, unless you'd have to, if you're saying the only option is to kill someone, it's your reasons have to be really good. Really good. And not just because, I don't know, you don't want your life interrupted and they're an inconvenience. If it was like, don't say that, women don't have abortions because it's more convenient. Well, then why wouldn't you birth a child and give them up for adoption? We're not saying abortions are easy or fun or painless or not traumatic, but you're doing them for a reason, right? Or otherwise, why don't you just, bear the child? And if you don't want to raise them, you can always give them up for adoption. There's some kind of convenience for you to have chosen the reason that you're choosing. So they mentioned the crazy cat lady thing because there's going off of JD Vance's comments. They're so pressed about that. They're so pressed about his comments, but yet they keep teasing him for going to Yale. It's so weird. Like Tim Walz did it again last night. And like, oh, nobody in my graduating class went to Yale. Sucks for you, I guess. I didn't never want to go to Yale, but I'm pretty sure if I got in, my parents would be very proud of the fact that I got in. The most important thing to them is we love the Lord and live according to the way the Lord would want us to live, and got those kind of priorities, right? But they'd be pretty happy that I went to Yale if that's what I wanted to do. They brag about it. So I just don't understand. Well, no, I should. Sometimes I say I don't understand, but I do understand. um, People like JD Vance aren't supposed to leave their trailer trash lives. They're supposed to be dependent on government for the rest of their lives, and being able to get out and make something of himself to this particular degree, and then dare to even be a Republican is not good for them, because I talked about this, I think, earlier this week, that the real identities here with the party is, hey, we can try to cultivate a society where you can get ahead and do things for yourself and live to the best of your ability based on what you can do for yourself, versus the Democrats are, hey, we're going to provide these things for you, and you can live off of the government teat. And that is how society is going to function, through the government and the growing of the government and people being dependent upon the government, and so on. And that's really the big difference here. So I think that's really maybe what it boils down to, because Clinton went to Yale, right? Obama went to Harvard. A lot of these people are elite folks, are rich. Roper's got so much money. People, there's no reason to keep mocking JD Vance over this stuff. But out of all the ways to mock him, he went to Yale. But let's get to this abortion part here. Sorry, it's loading again. Let me refresh it again.
Good evening, everyone. I want to talk. Doctor explain.
Okay.
Now, over the last couple of nights, we have all seen brave people walk onto the stage and share their most private pain. Amanda and Josh, Caitlin, Hadley, they told us their stories of rape and incest and near-death experiences from having the state deny them the abortion that their doctor explained was medically necessary. And they've told us these things for one reason, and that is to keep what happened to them from happening to anybody else. Because if you do not have autonomy over this, if you cannot control when and how you choose to bring your children into this world and how they are raised and supported, there is no American dream.
Okay, so I saw Ben Shapiro comment about this, and he said it's not he's like, the question is whether here, whether they're going to bring them into the world. To the section she said about different people, like she mentioned, like Kate Cox and so on, telling their stories, and their doctor saying that they needed to have the abortion. Kate Cox's, for example, her doctor did not say that. Like, she's in Texas, that very strict laws, but you can get it for medical reasons, and it has to meet a certain medical standard. And her doctors did not say that she needed one based on the medical standard that was necessary. And they also said that she wasn't like her death or anything wasn't imminent, and we don't want to be like last gasp of air, like let's do the abortion. We don't want it like that. But they clearly did not claim that it meant that it rose to the occasion that she needed an abortion for the medical reasons. Like, why wouldn't you just say that, yes, she needs it for this particular reason? But the truth of the matter is that she had a child who has, I think, trisomy 18, and they didn't expect the baby to live very long after birth. Now, the babies can live for some years after birth with trisomy 18. And they could probably find more success rates if we didn't have the mindset of, oh, this is just incompatible with life, because there's doctors who don't really want to let's say just give it their all with some of these babies. But she wanted another child. Maybe she does, I don't know. But allegedly wants another child. She's had C-sections before. So once you have, C-sections, they want you to keep having them. And so she wanted to save another C-section for a healthy child, I suppose. So this living child that she had that isn't the way that she would prefer them to be, that she has resigned, that she will have to say goodbye sooner or later, probably sooner rather than later, to this child, that instead of granting them a natural death, that she would like to do a procedure. At that point in time, I'm assuming it's the ones when they rip them apart with the forceps. So and crush the skull and take them out and stuff, and then have to, like, if her uterine lining was so fragile, like, you have to scrape the baby bits out of it. So it's a brutal procedure for a baby at that point of time. And her story, I wouldn't want to be in that situation. I wouldn't want any woman to be in that situation, but the facts of the matter just aren't what people are trying to present to the world. If her doctors thought that, yes, you need this abortion to live, then they would have gone with that. But the law, the Supreme Court said you don't have to ask pre-permission if your patient is, like, in danger. You don't have to do that. They clarified that. But they flat out told the court and everybody that, hey, we really want this abortion because we want, to get rid of this baby, basically, to save the C-section for a hypothetical future child. And that's just not in the law. So to me reading through the case, I'm like, did they want her to be able to have an abortion, or did they want her to be able to have a big activist moment and perhaps change Texas? Because that kind of seemed like the work of not a doctor who wants her to be able to have an abortion, but like we want to build future cases upon this to really expand the access to abortion. Because after the Kate Cox story, people were saying it's not enough to have abortions and have the exceptions, because at the end of the day, they're still not going to let us have the exceptions when push comes to shove. So they want to have, like, no restrictions now. That's the push with stories like Kate Cox. So I want to put that context there. But Oprah Winfrey saying, like, we don't have freedom. If we lose autonomy over this, then we don't have freedom. When she was stuck in her house for 300 plus days during the COVID saga, I don't remember Oprah getting on her high horse and condemning the government, condemning Biden, condemning Kamala Harris, and condemning their administration for trying to force people to get the jab. And no, they didn't hold people down and shoot them up, but they did coerce people. They absolutely did coerce people. When the people wanted to lock down businesses or force businesses to make their employees have to get the jab. I just don't remember Oprah being a freedom fighter for folks. Like, there were some celebrities, Evangeline Lilly, who said, I support I support people's bodily autonomy. She went out, she marched in DC for medical freedom, for people's autonomy. I respect that. But all these people who want to be pro bodily autonomy when it comes to abortion, but didn't keep that same energy doing COVID. COVID should have taught us so much about how many of these policies are stupid. Just absolutely stupid, how insincere these people are. Being more entangled with the government, for example, makes you more prone to being under their thumb, under their control, because the businesses, the Supreme Court decided, okay, you can't make people do this. This is unconstitutional. But they folded when it came to the healthcare workers because they got federal money for the hospitals and stuff. So the more entangled you are with the government, remember that when they want to pay for your K through your preschool and all that stuff, when they want to keep giving you goodies, that they come with strings. They come with strings. People saying, oh, we're just going to give people all this money to not work. Remember this when they want to push universal basic income and all this other kind of stuff, when they decentivize people from actually going out and getting a job. Y'all remember how hard it was for people to find workers? There's ripple effects here. There's ripple effects here. And Republicans try to tell Democrats, like, if you pay people to stay home, they're going to stay home. Like, are you calling people lazy? It's like, people are smart. Like, like, yeah, they're going to take the money. But if they can make more money staying home, why would they go to work? Then there's people still out there wanting to go do it because they wanted to go out and whatever. But there are people who wouldn't go back to their jobs or wouldn't get a job, or maybe they would just supplement it enough of their income doing a little bit extra with like gig work or something, with like DoorDash or something. But you couldn't find people to to work. It just caused all kinds of problems. We should be so over Democrats, the way that they control people. Tim Walz talking about just mind your own business is so laughable. He put business owners in jail. He had a tip line for people to snitch on their neighbors. He was probably more tyrannical than my governor. But they don't want to talk about that. They want to say, oh, he was a coach. That's what they want to focus on. They don't want to focus on those unconstitutional OSHA mandates with Kamala Harris. That's not what they want to focus on. They want to focus on Project 2025. So Oprah having the audacity to talk about, like, oh, these parents, they should be able to decide like what's best for their children. Letting them live is like step one. It's step one. You can't be like, I want the best for my children, and execution is on the table. You at least at the very, very bare minimum gotta grant them life, or not even granting it, that they're already alive, right? Just not kill them, bare minimum. And they're going around talking about how this is freedom. You wanting to travel between your own homes, that's not freedom. You wanting to keep your business open so you can feed your family, that's not freedom. But being able to kill them kids, liberation. Liberation. So these folks are gross. I don't know what else to tell you. But for people out there who want abortion to be like the number one thing that they vote on, they want to be the number one thing that they support. All the time, every day, I hear abortion debates, or I might get on and do one myself, like on TikTok, or talk to people on Facebook or YouTube or X or whatever. I have these conversations all day long with people, but folks will say that they are pro-choice because they value the living human, talking about the mother, over the child or whatever. They won't call him, maybe they'll call him a child, but usually they don't. They get offended if you call him a child, over the fetus. They value the living person. Now, I have contentions with that sort of character. Well, with that kind of lingo, I guess, because the child exists. One, you would need the abortion if they didn't exist, and of course, obviously they're alive, because if they were alive, you wouldn't need to kill them. So, they are a living human individual. They are dependent, sure, but they're still an individual. They're not their mother. They're a separate entity. So they both are living, and they'll say living, breathing. I already mentioned this, but fetuses do breathe in the womb. They, with the help of their mom, yes, but they don't breathe like we do, but we do help them breathe. They're getting oxygen and whatnot. So they are living, breathing creatures, absolutely. So they're saying we need to value living people who are here, like the people who are having well, if you get into experiences and stuff, you get into consciousness discussions, but they exist, right? But they'll say we need to focus on people who here exist. To focus on abortion, like it's your number one thing, is to focus on the need of a hypothetical situation in the future that you might claim to need in the future. So you really, really, really want this ability to kill this hypothetical future child. And that's what you're focused on. But what about everyone who's here right now? Like, isn't it more important that people are able to feed their children right now? Isn't that more important? Isn't it more important that these people, these young women who've been killed by illegal aliens who've crossed the border and been raped and killed, isn't it more important that we stop men like them from crossing the border, people with ISIS ties from crossing the border, other sorts of terrorists from crossing the border, people who are associated with these criminal gangs from crossing the border? I don't know what all these Chinese nationals are doing crossing our border, but there's people from all over the world coming and crossing our border. Is it important that we stop them, especially because we don't know what all their affiliations are, what their long-term plans are? And you know, a lot of these people are not obviously, you know, asylum seekers. Some of them are just coming to take advantage of the economic opportunities of America, but some of these people are coming with criminal history and committing crimes while they're here. So isn't it more important than you being able to kill your hypothetical future child that we focus on the people who are here and try to preserve their lives here and keep them safe? Like, isn't that more important? Isn't it more important that, you know, if people want to talk about the housing market and stuff, I don't know, think it would kind of make more sense to trust the real estate guy over the prosecutor, you know, who's, I said that she had no experience in the private sector. She did work at McDonald's for a little bit, I guess. So she has a little bit, but I would just think that Donald Trump would be better at something like that, you know, job creation and all that stuff. I would just think that, you know, so people need to think what's in their best interest for the now, then, for the people who are here, instead of like the hypothetical children that you want to kill one day. If that's your logic, and that is their logic, we have to focus on the people here who are living and breathing, not the people who are in the future living and breathing that you don't want to make it out the womb. So it's silly. It is like, if abortion is your number one issue, you live a super privileged life, man. You live a super privileged life. So privileged that you think you ought to be able to just kill someone who's going to interrupt your flow. Boy, that is a privilege. Boy, that is a privilege. But other folks want to feed their families. And if you think that Kamala Harris can help you do that, there's no evidence, I think, really for that. But, you know, that's one thing. But I think most honest people be able to know that things were a lot more comfortable when Trump was president. And one way or another, Kamala Harris, she's a vice president, not a very good vice president, very radical senator. They don't want to talk about that too much. They don't even want to talk too much about her being vice president. And they want to pretend like she doesn't have any culpability for the policies that have been engaged in. But, you know, one way or another, she was a border czar. Anyway, I don't have much time to go into the other two stories that I wanted to talk on because I'm already over. And so we'll have to touch on more tomorrow, but I'll just preview it and we will talk about it tomorrow. We'll talk about it first thing. But there was a report that came out that the jobs have been very much overestimated from the Biden administration. And there's at least 800,000 jobs that they claimed that were created that were not actually created. Pretty wild, huh? So I showed you guys a video of Don Lemon interviewing some people on the street, and there was someone who said, well, I got to go with Trump, supporting Trump because we're doing a lot better financially under Trump. And then Don Lemon's like, no, that's not true. Like, I know it feels that way, but it's wild to me that you're going to tell people what their life is like when you don't live it and you don't know what their personal, bank expenses are and business expenses and all that kind of different stuff. But people keep trying to point at data, and folks are like, we're not feeling this reality. Whatever world you're living in, we're not feeling it. And maybe that's just because the data is not accurate. So you're off by like 800,000 jobs. And a lot of jobs that they have created, actually, who knows? I got to go back and look at this data, I guess, are government jobs. So there's that. But and then someone who's like over the labor department, like, did not even know about the report and tried to deny it. Tried to say, oh, well, Trump lies all the time. Here we go. Here's a clip if you haven't seen this. Because Trump started talking about this, and maybe they're reacting to a clip from Trump, but she just denies that this is happening. But it's the Department of Labor that's like put out the report.
When you hear that, do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign?
No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful.
It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor.
I'm not familiar with that.
When you
Ain't it kind of your job to be familiar with that, bruh? Like, Trump is lying. It's literally your labor department that has put out the information. And so there's that. So the jobs aren't really what they ought to be. Another big reason why people didn't want to support Trump, because they didn't like the images of the children in the cages that Obama built and the separation of the families. And they put that little girl who's never separated from her mother on Time magazine and all that stuff. And there was a report that 500 children hadn't been like reunited, and Trump tried to tell people that the people came without any sort of guardian. So yeah, not all of them are going to be back with their families. And Kamala Harris was like, "Oh, this is a national stain." And I got the tweet here. She said 545 children. This is outrageous and a stain on our national character. Families belong together. Talking about the children, that story came out like right before the second debate with Biden and Trump. There's so many kids, according to this report, and we'll dive into it tomorrow, but that they don't know exactly where they are, that they're not keeping track of them, or they haven't been able to properly keep track of them. So it could be up to like 290,000. That sounds like a big number to me. So again, is it more important that you're able to kill your hypothetical future children? Or is it more important that we don't know where like 290,000 children who were undocumented came into the country, and they could be, I don't know, abused, trafficked, whatever. We don't know. That's a big jump, though. 500 to 290,000. So we'll dive into more of that tomorrow. It's a scary world we're living in, but Oprah would have you believe it's just about books, and books aren't scary, and cat ladies, and they're the ones trying to divide. Yeah, right. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com. Check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website. You guys can check out different merch that I have available, different shirts and mugs and so on. That's available at the website. Like, I got some pro-life stuff here. I got the shirt that says "You are not that special," and I do have a mug there with it on that. It's getting to like the fall though, so it is pumpkin spice season. So I do have these mugs too. I drew the little chibi Trump there, so you guys can go to the website, check out that stuff. Again, I do have many books that I've written as well. You can just search my name, Christina Elbar, on Amazon. I do have a new version of my book, of course, guys, against abortion, that's out. It's not on Barnes and Nobles. That's my old graphic for that, but I'll put it on Barnes and Nobles. It's just kind of, it's like the same thing, but it's it's formatted a little differently. So it was more complicated, so I just haven't done it yet, but it's available on Amazon right now. So you guys can go ahead and get the paperback or get the ebook. God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.